Welcome to Behind the Wheel, a Rotary District 7505 video series. I'm your host, Pete Berthaud, and I'm a member and past president of the Rotary Club of Marlton in South Jersey. And today, in this episode, we feature an interview with District 7505 membership chair, Bill Ridgway. Bill's been kind enough to join us. You can see him right on our screen here. Bill, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Pete. I appreciate it.
The goal of our Behind the Wheel video series is to keep current members informed on upcoming initiatives while also showcasing our district to a broader audience and educating the public on what we're up to with our charitable endeavors and everything else we got going on. And we chose Bill for our first episode because membership is always at the top of the list when you ask clubs what they're most concerned about. And so, Bill, let's start with your role within the district and what being our membership chair entails.
Well, I feel as though being a membership chair of a district, especially one of our size, it's important that the clubs understand that, me as the membership chair and my committee, which I'm slowly putting together, are there to help the clubs and to really help them out with trying to, not only increase membership, but, retaining membership and then looking into possibilities of extending to different types of membership ideas, whether it's a satellite club or an impact club or something else that would help them and aid them in increasing membership.
And what would be some of the key strategies when you go to a club and they might tell you, hey, we're having a hard time, Bill, what's our best avenue? Do you assess it club by club, and what are just some of the basic strategies for increasing membership?
Well, as you know, Rotary likes numbers, and they're constantly doing surveys and everything else. Obviously there's a lot of clubs in their district. I'm not to name any, but they've obviously historically struggled with membership. And eventually what's ended up happening is that they've got to the point where they're, maybe a dozen or less members in the club. And maybe of those dozen or less members, it's, half are active. It's very hard for them to, to try to increase membership by doing it the traditional way. And when I say traditional way, I mean, bringing in new members and retaining them. I feel as though that they could, very easily think out of the box and try to figure out a way to increase membership by possibly, adjusting the time they meet or maybe, adjusting the meetings of how, when and where they meet, and adjusting their dues fees, their schedule with their dues, and as well as looking into a possibility of extending, putting an extension such as a satellite club in force.
And I want you to elaborate a little bit on the premise of satellite clubs for those clubs out there that don't have one, because I know many don't, and they're known as impact clubs, I guess, more appropriately within Rotary. What goes into a satellite club? Is that a new club? Give us a little bit of details on that.
Well, I look at, there's a lot of confusion with satellite clubs, unfortunately. And I think a lot of clubs make it more difficult than it has to be to form a type of satellite club, whether it's an impact club or what they call a cause club. There's a lot of different types of names for an extension of a traditional club. But a satellite club would be something where you need 8 members to charter the satellite club, more or less. And having those 8 members, they're just an extension of membership of your own club. So for instance, if you had a group of young people that were really interested in Rotary and wanted to join and be involved, but they didn't want to come to your lunch meeting, they weren't able to attend those meetings because it's in the middle of the day and they have careers. Or they don't want to go to a meeting every single week, or more importantly, they don't want to deal with having to pay, higher dues, the same dues that the traditional club would have. This just gives another opportunity to, and it doesn't necessarily have to be younger people, a younger group. It can be a bunch of 55 plus seniors that live in a community that, basically have a lot in common. And would rather meet at breakfast or maybe meet at 4 o'clock in the afternoon but they would be an extension of that particular club. So, for instance, I'll give you an example. Um, the Barnegat Club, if I had a group of people that said, listen, I don't want to, I want to, we can do breakfast. We're not crazy about the dues. We don't need a meal, but we want to meet and have our own projects and get together on a different day, once a week, twice a month, whatever it would be, that would be feasible for them to do. And they would look for our support to be able to support whatever, if it was a fundraiser or a service project. Typically they're service project, but if it was something that they really had a passion for, it would be something that it would be, our club could support them in that. And at the same time, and probably more importantly, with increasing membership, they would all become members of your club and members of Rotary International. Because as we well know, Rotary International has only two types of members, active and honorary, and that's it.
And that's a key distinction for some people that might be listening to this, is that you said charter, but there actually is no charter. It is just a subset of the club. There's no new number. It's not a spinoff. And some of the advantages you mentioned, like it can be less expensive for those people that might not have the means to pay full dues or whatever. You can come in at a little bit lower rate, and it potentially has the chance to fit the needs of current members and potential new members down the line. Is that correct?
That's correct. And one of the things that have a lot of people assume is that particular satellite club will eventually spin off and become their own club. That doesn't necessarily have to be the case. They do not need to, that's not a given. And there's, a lot of times that, almost, I think more times than not, they don't become their own club. They continue to be an extension of that original traditional Rotary club.
Now, for a second, I want to take it to potential members, and then we're going to bring it back to the clubs. For those watching that would want to become a member of Rotary International, what is the process generally like? And what are the rules surrounding membership of any of these local clubs? Are there a specific set of rules?
Well, every club seems to set their own rules and bylaws and so forth as to how they handle membership. The traditional way is asking somebody to come to a meeting or to come to a service project or to attend a fundraiser. How that happens, and if it happens, that's fine. What we also find is a lot of sometimes just because, and I'm sure Ralph, whenever the time comes with public image, a lot of people do find out about Rotary clubs through the media and through social media, and they see some of the great things they're doing. And I've had a few, and I'm sure you have in your club as well, where they've just shown up to a meeting and because they're really interested in finding out more about Rotary. Now, what happens from there after is what's important, I think, because I think the Rotary, Rotary clubs are about their meetings and how they're conducted, and depending on how friendly the club can be and the members can be can end up hurting you if you don't handle it the right way. So an example would be somebody comes to the meeting, they're really interested in Rotary. There should be somebody dynamic in your club to sort of take them aside and say, listen, if you're really interested in this stuff, we're a great club, but what you're seeing at the meeting isn't all what Rotary is about. I can send you some information. You want to give me your email, you want to give me your cell number, we can sit down someplace and chat about it. I think it's important to get the point across that it's, not just about, what somebody's going to see at a particular meeting, because I've been to many, many Rotary meetings. I'm sure you have too. And, some are good, some are okay, and some are not very good. So, if that person walks into a not very good meeting and isn't really, you're probably not going to see them show a further interest in Rotary anyway.
Yeah, I was having a discussion with someone recently just about when you're talking to a prospective member, don't bog them down with the do's and the rules. Tell them what Rotary is all about and the good parts of Rotary, because we're trying to keep these people around, correct? And I would imagine it would be your preference that each club within our district, and really any club, have a link or button on their website, like displayed pretty prominently on how to join. And is there anything specific that the club should say on such a page, like come to a meeting or email us, call this person? And is that on the club? Like they can decide, or do you as membership chair kind of have a protocol you would want them to put on that?
I don't have at least historically, I'm pretty sure we haven't had a protocol on what to say with those types of situations, or what what that button should do. I do think that, and again, we'll go back to the leads program to a point too. I think the personal connection of making a phone call, having somebody that's willing to take a phone call from a member that may click on that, on that button and see, a phone number, and having that person on the other end, sort of give them the, maybe a little bit of background on Rotary, but again, don't go crazy with the dues and just think specifically your club. I think you really talk about the fun aspect of Rotary, and then some of the great service project that your particular club could be doing. And I think the other thing too is a lot of people get caught up with their own club. It's nice to, if you have an area where there's a lot of clubs close together, it doesn't hurt to mention, well, if that doesn't work for you, there's the club next to us, X club next to us that, they meet at lunch, or there's a club that meets for breakfast, or, whatever. It may be something where it will expand their horizons to say, okay, well, maybe this club's not going to be good for me, but it's closer to home and they meet at a better time. Maybe, you could, introduce me to somebody in that club to be able to go attend a meeting or attend something that's going on with them. So, but it should be somebody dynamic in your club that that's willing to make that personal connection in a phone conversation. Even if they leave a phone number and that person calls them. But the leads program, we've been big on not so much doing the email thing, more so doing make the phone call connection to that potential member.
And I think on our site, we have come to a meeting. We give our meeting times. We meet the first and third Tuesday of every month. If you see this and you're on our website, come to a meeting, introduce yourself. We'll go from there. Or you can email us, and we have both up there. But potentially putting a phone number for your membership chair of your own club, or the secretary, or whoever it is, that could be a potentially good idea for those clubs watching out there. I recently just learned about that leads program you mentioned, and that's a Rotary International leads program. But how does that filter down to the clubs in our district?
Well, it's my job as district membership chair to review. I mean, the district reviews it. That's usually me. But there are others in the district that also receive the lead. I believe that the district governor, and there may be some, I'm not sure if there's the district governor nominee or elect rather, receives it, and probably Melanie in our district, she probably receives it as well. I'm not exactly sure who all receives it, but it's a very limited number of people. Mm-hmm. So let's just put it this way. I get an email and it says so-and-so has expressed an interest in Rotary. I go to the site. I learn about the information from that particular member, which usually has, their location, what they're interested in, how they found out about Rotary. And then I try to match them up as close as possible to a club or a couple different clubs, just to see, what'll work best for them. So for instance, if somebody, and I had this happen, somebody's in the Cherry Hill area, they either work there or live there. I try to give them both clubs, both clubs that are in that area, because one may be better than the other, but at least it's giving both clubs an opportunity to possibly bring in a new member. So at that point, you reviewed it, you assign them to a club, and then you have to follow up on it and just see, how they're making out. A lot of times, and I want to stress the importance, and this is really where the membership chair, I think, comes in very important for clubs to have, because membership chairs in a club, or directors, whatever you want to call them, the president's busy. They're busy, and for them to take another thing a president has to do to try to, if you have a club membership chair, that information can go directly to that individual and copy the president on it, so he knows what's going on, or he or she knows what's going on. But, that person could be responsible for reaching out to that potential lead, and that potential member, invite them to a meeting. If a meeting doesn't work, tell them all about the service project. If you have a satellite club, tell them about the satellite. Tell that person about the satellite club, because we do get a lot of returning people that have moved to the area. They're not exactly sure, and they're looking for a club in the area. So it's a whole array of different type of people that contact Rotary International, and therefore they third, or actually sent the lead to us.
Yeah.
I don't know what the success rate. I know that there's one club in our district that's done very well with a good success rate where they've gotten several members out of it, and I haven't had a chance to really ask them what's your secret, because it doesn't seem to work out. The success rate, in my opinion, is a very low percentage for the leads program, but it's there and it's worth following up on, because you never, just like any lead in sales, it's worth following up on. So you never know what it could turn into. So,
and I thought your point about all of these clubs in South Jersey, especially, are so close together that if perhaps the club a town over is better and meets that potential member's needs better, you have to keep in mind, selfishly, we always want a new member in our clubs, but the goal is to get them to be a Rotary member so we can make a larger impact on this world. And so that is very good advice. And to keep in mind, if someone's like, I just can't make those dues work, or I just can't make dinner work, recommend them to another sister club like close by. That's good advice. Bill, unless you have anything else you want to mention or disclose, I think that's going to just about do it for our interview today. But I really do appreciate you joining us.
Well, I appreciate you having me, because I think it's membership obviously is the number one on the list for all the clubs, and I think these types of shows can work out well if people take the time to listen to them and expand their horizons when it comes to membership, and not just look at it like come to our meetings and join our club. There's all different ways you can get new members and also retain members, which we can do a whole thing on retention, a whole nother show on retention.
Absolutely. We'll cut it off for now, but make sure you stay tuned to the District 7505 YouTube channel. We're going to be posting more behind the wheel episodes to that channel, and hopefully letting you and the general public know all about what's going on within the district. But Bill, thanks again, and we'll talk to the viewers next time.
Sounds great. Thanks.